U equals U. Undetectable equals untransmittable. You may have seen these letters or heard that phrase on social media. So what is it? It means that someone living with HIV on treatment with an undetectable viral load won't transmit the virus to their sexual partner. Zero risk. It's a groundbreaking campaign and international movement that is empowering people living with HIV globally to love, have sex, conceive children, return to their villages and homes without any fear of transmitting HIV. And it's not a hunch. It's not a theory. It's not some guess made by an extreme sex-positive researcher with an agenda. No. U equals U is now proven and very well documented among the research and medical communities. The CDC, the NIH, HHS, and every major medical organization know it and they support it, and the experts say there is no more room for debate anymore. It's fact. But the truth is finally coming out. This international campaign and movement has faced resistance from some of the most powerful people within the HIV community. Well-known activists, people that we respect and love deeply, that have attempted to silence us. We don't understand why, but we want them to join us. Even a handful of HIV service organizations and conferences want to sideline this message by not giving it the attention it deserves. But the U equals U movement has been the vision of Bruce Richmond, Executive Director of Prevention Access Campaign, and he understands exactly just how valid this message really is.
20 years ago, in 1996, we learned that treatment would save our lives. Now we know that treatment means we can't transmit HIV to others, and that affects everything. It not only affects our social, sexual, and reproductive health, the fact that we can have relationships, we can have sex, we can have babies without transmitting HIV, without any fear. But it also affects the field because it affects the very definition of what it means to live with HIV.
We all have fought, clawed, yelled, and embodied the passion necessary to break through 30-plus years of HIV stigma in order to free from fear the lives of millions of people currently living with HIV and anyone who will be diagnosed in the future. This campaign is interrupting HIV stigma in our lives. And it all started with Bruce Richmond learning from his own medical doctor in Florida around 2012 that he couldn't transmit HIV to a sexual partner. That freedom emboldened Richmond to create a task force in New York in 2015 that championed a consensus statement that began to break down one of the most harmful narratives about people living with HIV, that the public should fear us. That stigma was finally being challenged at its core, and Richmond led a group of activists that stood up and demanded that the community accept and share this message with everyone. And it worked. The first major endorsement of the campaign came from the New York Department of Health. To date, nearly 100 countries and 850 organizations have signed on to the consensus statement. All across the world, the results are breathtaking and inspiring. U equals U is translated into O equals O in Norway, H equals H in Russia, B equals B in Turkish, I equals I in Spanish, French, and Portuguese, K equals K in Vietnamese, N equals N in Dutch. In the UK, partners to the campaign, Terence Higgins Trust, helped spread the message with their own campaign, You Can't Pass It On. All across the globe, the movement and U equals U message is being seen, whether in the subways in places like New York City, Minneapolis, London, and Auckland, on public transit during the Super Bowl, posters are in Melbourne, Australia, and at railroad stations in Long Island. There are billboards in DC, marches in Uganda, and dance parties happening in the streets. In America, places like Columbus, Kansas City, Cleveland, New Orleans, Rhode Island, there is incredible leadership being shown by public health messages about U equals U. Richmond calls the speed at which this movement has reached the world as astonishing, and also not fast enough. We continue to be unrelenting in spreading this message. Here's the reality. We are not reckless. We are not predatory. It's a lie to say that we lie about being undetectable. We know our viral load. We are not out exposing people to HIV. We are adherent. And our subpopulations will not fail, even in spite of stigma that applies to people who inject drugs, trans people, or people living in the South. We all reject these excuses, and we demand our providers tell us the truth about our bodies. U equals U is about the truth. It's about freedom. It gives us hope. It empowers us to take control of the narrative about us, freeing us from the fear of exposing others to HIV. We haven't been, we aren't, and we won't. We thank those who are endorsing and sharing this campaign and spreading the U equals U message across the globe, the most important public health message ever created about HIV. A message that people living with HIV and those that are negative still need to hear. It is time, the time is now. U equals U. Undetectable equals untransmittable. Follow the science, not stigma, especially since you and you and you and you and you and you deserve to feel loved. And I think maybe I deserve a good date. Join us today. U equals U.